Welcome to the February 19th Frankfort Village Board meeting. We call this meeting to order and we ask our clerk, Adam Borelli, to take the roll, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor Holland.
Here.
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 Mr. Kennedy.
Here.
Mr. Here. Mr. Stevens. Here. Mr. President
is absent. Village clerk is present. Attorney Mahoney. No, it's not here. Attorney Lamore. Sorry, I didn't look up. Police Chief Barica. Village Administrator Pisha.
Here.
Assistant Administrator Cook.
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this point in our meeting, we normally have what we call the consent agenda. This evening, though, I would like to go out of order to do the mayor's report first because we do have a special guest here. And I ask the trustees if anybody has any concern with that. That's okay.
Sounds good.
Great.
Sounds great.
So we're going to start off this evening with the mayor's report. And the very first thing on the mayor's report is Phillips Chevrolet celebrates 50 years in business proclamation. What an interesting company this is, and we have a little proclamation that I'm going to come out in front and read. We have with us Curtis Pasquarella and his wife Donna. These are residents of Frankfort. The parents who started the business were residents of Frankfort. And we really don't have that many businesses that have been around 50 years. So Curtis and Donna, if you'd like to join me at the podium, we have a proclamation and I'll read some portions of it. Doesn't need to be. I have to get over by the microphone, though, so it picks it up on the television. So this proclamation states, whereas Phillips Chevrolet has been an integral part of the Frankfort community for 50 years, and whereas Phillips Chevrolet was founded in 1968 by Phil Pasquarella in downtown Frankfort with a 2-car showroom, 12 employees, and an inventory of 40 cars. Whereas in its 50-year history, the business has undergone several expansion projects and has grown to encompass 3 locations of over 150,000 total square feet with more than 350 employees and over 1,600 cars and 45 RVs in its inventory. And whereas this family-owned business has been the #1 selling Chevy dealer in Illinois for 13 years in a row and has earned dozens of awards for both sales volume and customer satisfaction from General Motors as well as consumer advocate organizations. And whereas Phillips Chevrolet celebrates this milestone and acknowledges their success and longevity would not have been possible without its team of dedicated and hardworking employees and support of the citizens of Frankfort and the surrounding communities it serves. Whereas the Village of Frankfort wishes to honor Phillips Chevrolet and recognize their 50 years of dedicated service to the Frankfort community, now therefore the good people of the Frankfort community do hereby extend congratulations to Phillips Chevrolet on its 50th anniversary and wish the Pasquarella family and their employees much continued success in the future. So there you go. Thank you, Curtis. And this is for you. And again, it's just a pleasure to be able to say thank you to the things you've done for our community, the stability of your business, and its hometown flavor. It's a wonderful part of our community. Thank you. And if you'd like to say anything, that would be great. But you got to get up close to the microphone.
No, 50 years, it's been quite a journey, to say the least. And we couldn't have achieved our success without the support of the Village of Frankfort, the surrounding communities, and of course my wife Donna is a big part of it. But we truly appreciate this, and thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. It's nice to have a photographer.
Yeah, it is. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We will continue with the mayor's report. Applications are available for committee appointments. You can find them on the internet at villageoffrankfort.com, and they're under, let's see, Live Government Village Committees. So you have to go down a little ways to find them. If you can't find them, you call the village or just come into the village administration building. We do rely on input from residents of Frankfort to help us with decisions. Some committees meet almost monthly. Some committees only meet maybe once a year. But they're all important to us, and you can get on a committee that deals with policy issues. You can get on a committee that deals with special events, typically in our downtown. You can be on a committee that handles land use issues, or the Plan Commission. All of those committees, we look at those. Most appointments are for 1 year, some by state law are for longer. But an interesting thing to do if you ever wanted to get involved in your community. That's one of the ways to do it. So we hope that people will apply for committee appointments in the Village of Frankfort. Applications are due April 5th. Annual Homeowners Association meeting has been scheduled for, let's see, it would be Monday, March 11th at 7 o'clock p.m. at the Frankfort Administration Building. This meeting is designed for anybody who is on a Homeowners Association board. We will have a person from, let's see, they like to call themselves ACTA, I think, but it's the Association of Condominium and Homeowners and Town Homes Association, I think is what it's called. But kind of an interesting organization, but they do give good advice to those volunteers who serve on Homeowners Association boards. So we hope to have a big group of people here from all of the many homeowners associations in Frankfort. And save the date, Chamber of Commerce Community Showcase to be held March 16th. That's up at Lincoln Way East High School, and it's a sizable event with probably 100, 150 booths of local businesses. And if nothing else, they pass out great candy. But it's also very interesting, all the different things that are supplied to Frankfort residents right out of our own community. Very interesting place to go, and it's children-friendly, so a nice event for the family. And that concludes the mayor's report, except one brief comment about the shooting in Aurora. Certainly our thoughts go out to the victims, to the police who were injured, to the police who went in to this event as the shots were being fired. And I have to say, I thought that both the mayor and the police chief in the city of Aurora have done a very nice job when a tragedy like this happens and attracts national attention and those national media people. It's very difficult for local governments to handle appropriately, and I have to give my compliments to those two for at least from the appearances I saw on the television and such, they did a really good job in an extremely stressful situation. We wish the best to the families of all concerned in Aurora. So with that, we're going to go back to our unanimous consent agenda. All items on the unanimous consent agenda are considered routine in nature and will be voted on after a single motion. If one of the trustees wants to discuss any of those items in more detail, we'll just remove that item from the consent agenda. So I first ask, do any trustees want to remove any items from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion, Mayor. I'll second.
We have a motion by Trustee Stevens and a second by Trustee Ogle to approve the consent agenda. And we certainly do want the people here in our boardroom to know something about the items we're passing tonight, or failing, I suppose, but I would hope they'll pass. And we do want the people at home on the television and on the internet who watch this program to know something about the items that are on our consent agenda. So we'll go over each one of them just briefly. The first item is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting on February 4th. Pretty routine item. And the second item is the approval of the bills, and we'll go to the chairperson of our Finance Committee, Trustee Heath, for a report on those.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight's bills total $763,972.96. Unusual, there is very little expenditure on the wastewater treatment plant this month, under $50,000. However, there is $234,000 that was spent in the utility department. Not surprising, since there is a lot of maintenance and repair that has to be done with this kind of weather. There was also $56,000 that was passed through to other taxing districts. It's the money that we receive from new development, and then we pass it on to the schools and the parks and the libraries. So that is just a pass-through. The most interesting item in the bills was under our capital development fund. It was $194,000 paid to the state of Illinois relating to Route 30. And actually it represented our share of some work that was done on the Route 30 project about 5 years ago from Route 45 to Harlem. And the state is just billing us now. We're paying a bill that we received in February for that. And as I understand, there's another bill that will be coming sometime soon from Route 45 to Wolf Road. So it takes a while for some of those state bills to catch up with us for payment. Yes, I think that is amazing. That is all I have, Mr. Mayor.
You think we can send them a bill for some of the plantings that have died in such along Route 30 that?
It would be nice to be able to do that, Mayor, but we did, in part of the agreement for them to put landscape medians in, that we accepted full responsibility for all of the vegetation.
I know we did. And it's irritating to get a bill for, this is moving some water mains or moving a sewer pipe or something of that nature, correct?
There was utility pipes, and it was also for the portion of the additional sidewalks, the portion for traffic signals. So it's, but the utility relocations was 100% on ours. So whatever was
and we knew that was coming.
Yes.
Someday.
Yes.
How can it take 5 years to build something? I'll quit talking about it. It's just our state. It's hard to believe. Thank you, Cindy. And then we're going to go right back to Trustee Heath for a number of items from our Operations Committee.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. The first item before us is the Hickory Creek Pump Station perimeter fencing bid approval. This is something that we had looked at before. There is a new pump station located on Route 45 as part of our wastewater treatment plant expansion project. And this particular item, we approved the low bidder for $39,840 to install an invincible style fence, and it's primarily for security reasons. The next item actually is a little bit more exciting. It is the wastewater treatment plant consolidation program phase 3, project 7. Project 7 is the last item within our wastewater treatment plant expansion program. This particular item is arranged for the abandonment of the north and west wastewater facilities and the excess flow storage pond. So this will be the conclusion, the last step of this process. The total of those bills was the total of that bid was $5,880,000, and it is contingent upon the village's receipt of a formal loan offer from the IEPA, which I don't think there should be any issue in receiving that. So with that, we'll be moving on to finally closing the old plants and getting ready to open our new one, year's time. Hopefully some of this will be done within this year. The third item before us is the 2019 reforestation project. It is the continuation of our emerald ash borer project. There were 345 parkway trees that had to be taken down and replaced. The low bid on this contract is the Fields on Caton Farm Incorporated, who also had the low bid last year. And they will supply the planting and mulching of 345 trees for an amount not to exceed $89,695. And I think we're probably in excess of $1.5 million. I think we're going to try to get a total amount eventually. $1.9 million this village has had to spend on the emerald ash borer issue. Completely, it's something that we certainly didn't anticipate, and it has cost the villagers a lot of tax revenue in order to keep our village looking nice. The next item, disposal of the surplus vehicle ordinance. This is just an old 2001 GMS Sierra 2500 that's no further use to the village with mechanical issues, and we are authorizing this disposal of that via public auction. The next item is a software licensing agreement for ArcGIS software. This is software that is used by many departments within the village to handle mapping, street condition evaluation, asset management, et cetera. All the crews use it, and this is a licensing agreement which is costing us $25,000 per year, but does save all of our staff considerable amount of work and makes working for the villagers much more efficient when they're trying to locate water main breaks or other issues. So we approved, again, an amount of $25,000 a year for to enter Environmental Systems Research Institute. Next, the Chicago SMSA Limited Partnership Site Access Agreement. In this item, SMSA, which is basically a wireless carrier for Verizon, is asking to have access to village property in order to help install a fiber optic line on the water tower. So we approved an agreement that allows them to go ahead and dig a ditch. They will repair it, and this is to access property along the Granary Tower area located at 20 Elwood Street. And that is all I have.
Thank you, Cindy, and I think we missed the 2 snowplow trucks that are also in that report.
I apologize. I flashed right over them with my finger. Okay, the 2019 dump truck replacement purchase approval. We did skip, how could I forget this one? We did skip for several years purchasing new dump trucks as the village was trying to watch its capital funds and to ensure that we had enough money going forward. But in the meantime, some of our older trucks are desperately in need of repair, and these are trucks that are also used for snow plowing. So it's important for the village that we keep our whole supply of trucks in good condition, and this particular item is for 2 2020 International 7400 truck chassis with dump truck bodies and snowplow equipment. The bid is to not exceed $302,873. And now that is all that I have.
Thank you, Cindy. And then we have 3 items from our Land Use and Policy Committee, and we're going to go this evening to Trustee Ogle for a report on those.
Thank you, Mayor. February 13th, we had our committee nights, and Departmental Operations Committee met, as well as Land Use and Policy. There are quite a few items, quite lively discussions as well on these. The first item before us is the cafe lease agreements, which essentially are the public sidewalk right-of-ways on Kansas Street, and before outside seating for Fat Rosie's, Francesca's, and Trail's Edge. The agreement is between the Village of Frankfort and these 3 different entities. The terms of the lease, which is a 3-year lease agreement, The first one, the committee recommended adopting a resolution authorizing the execution of the 3-year agreement between the village and Fat Rosie's at 28 Kansas Street, as well as also a 3-year lease agreement between the village and Francesca's Fortunato at 40 Kansas Street, and the third one between the village and Trails Edge Brewing at 20 Kansas. Those are very popular outdoor cafes during the year, and we've also, on the request of both the applicants and our residents, have extended the time period when they can have outdoor seating, especially if we have nice weather, either on the front end or the back end or both. It's very enjoyable to be down in Frankfort and downtown and enjoy a meal outside on our green. It's beautiful. We spent a lot of money to improve it, have beautiful flowers out there, and we hope our residents take use of that. Now, the next item on here are a bunch of amendments to our Village of Frankfort Code of Ordinances. The first one relates to meetings, and it's a little bit cleaning up some old language in the housekeeping. But we did accept the recommendation of the Land Use and Policy Committee to waive the first and second readings of this and pass an ordinance amending the Village of Frankfort Code of Ordinances, Chapter 31, Section 31.01 on meetings. And there were some inconsistencies in the meeting times that were established, and so we're just cleaning up that language. The second motion, again, to accept the recommendation of the Land Use and Policy Committee, waive the first and second readings and pass an ordinance amending the Village of Frankfort Code of Ordinances, Chapter 31, and adding Section 31.20, which is participation and voting by electronic conferencing. This is allowed in the Open Meetings Act, and many municipalities use this. It allows us to have a participant, that's a board member, call in through audio or video, and they have full participation in the meeting. There has been some instances where we need a larger than a simple majority in order to vote. This does not allow someone to go on vacation or snowbird in Florida and call in. There are very strict guidelines defined by the Open Meetings Act. But it is something that we may or may not opt to use, but it has to be adopted at least one meeting before you'd use it. So if it comes up, it is something in our toolbox to use. The third item in there is to accept the recommendation of the Land Use and Policy Committee, waive the first and second readings, and pass an ordinance amending the Village of Frankfort Code of Ordinances, Chapter 96, and adding Section 96.20, which is placing snow and or ice into the public ways as prohibited. This had a little discussion, and I'm sure this will have a little further discussion, but to get the context on this, this is not to go after residents for pushing snow into the driveways. It really has to do more with some of the private contractors. And our public works guys are finding that as they're plowing the streets, some of the private contractors with smaller vehicles are pushing snow up. The vehicles are not strong enough to get it out of the right-of-way, and sometimes they will leave a large snow mound right in the middle of a street or in a right-of-way, in a public right-of-way. And we've had to bring vehicles out there and also manpower to disassemble a large frozen mass in order to do this. So we found that we had no enforcement mechanism, and the enforcement, we will not be out patrolling and looking for these things. It'll be the Director of Public Works when they come upon it. And again, we're looking for voluntary compliance as well as awareness for people to not put these things in the street. They're very large. When they're frozen, they're very dangerous as well. But I'm sure there'll be further discussion on this one and questions as well. The third item on here is a reciprocal reporting agreement, intergovernmental agreement between Homewood Flossmoor Community High School, School District 233, and the Village of Frankfort. This, again, we're going to accept the recommendation of the Land Use and Policy Committee and adopt the resolution authorizing the execution of a reciprocal reporting system intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Frankfort and the Board of Education of Homewood Flossmoor Community School District 233. This was initiated by Homewood Flossmoor School District so that we can share information for safety and I believe they've reached out to many or all of the other schools that they have sporting events and athletic conferences with. Again, it's something that they reached out to us. We think it's beneficial for everyone, for the students as well as the village, and a lot of this is really under the authority of our local school board on some decisions. But I believe our police think this was a very good idea and presented it. Mayor, I believe that's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Keith. And those are all of the items on tonight's consent agenda. So before we discuss and vote on those issues, is there anyone in the audience who wanted to comment to the village board about any of those items? Well, hearing nothing, how about the trustees? Any questions, comments? As Keith, go ahead.
Yes. I just did have one comment on the dump trucks. We are purchasing 2 dump trucks, like Trustee Heath had mentioned. There's about a 9-month build time on these once we place the order for those. So if we issue the purchase order, we should have them ready and outfitted as snow plows by the time next snow season comes around. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Keith. And just a comment to the public, we went over a lot of items here tonight very quickly. All of these items were discussed at one of our committee meetings, and those committee meetings took place last week. And those are what residents can apply for, to be on one of those committees. Then you get to discuss the details of whether we should get 2 dump trucks or 1. It's pretty interesting sometimes. Anyway, you'll enjoy it. So not hearing any comments from the trustees, no questions from the audience, we'll go to our clerk, Adam Borelli, for the vote.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Trustee Clavio?
Yes.
Trustee Heath?
Yes.
Trustee Kennedy?
Yes.
Trustee Ogle?
Yes.
Trustee Stevens?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Now it's time for our attorney's report, and we go to our village attorney, Hannah Lamore. Oh.
No report tonight, Mr.
No,
Mayor.
it isn't. It's not your turn. It's the police chief's
If you
turn.
want it.
That's all right.
I was prepared, Mayor.
We have to shake up. I said we were going out of order tonight, so we're continuing. Not instead. We got no report. Very well done.
Yeah.
We'll go to our police chief for the police department report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I, too, wanted to express our condolences to those involved in the Aurora shooting up there, as well as speedy recovery to the officers, but usually we don't comment on that, but the reason why I bring it up is you could see by the response that went on up there that obviously Aurora and the neighboring towns had trained on that rapid response to go in there when somebody was shooting. And I think it's important for people to know, too, that we have been training on that for over 15 years. We continue to train on it, as well as several of the agencies around us, so that if anything unfortunate like that were to happen around here, we do get ready for it. We hope it doesn't happen, but we wouldn't be doing the right things if we didn't train on things just hoping they don't happen. So we continue to train on those. And along with that training is I'm also happy to report that last Friday we went to District 157C and we were able to train with their staff for an active threat inside the schools. And we're now involving staff and students. Part of this is becoming a law in the state of Illinois that they're going to have to do it. But again, these things are things that you hope don't happen, but you have to prepare yourself and be ready for them. So we will continue to train on them and keep it as a top priority in the department for as long as I'm there, for sure, and I'm sure past me. Another note, I would like to give a compliment to one of our new officers, Ahmad Allen, and Officer Joe Civic, who were able to catch a car burglar the other night, finally, that was out there. But that was caught because of people calling in. And again, remind people all the time that in order to help us, help them, call us. They saw a strange vehicle and some people out there. We did catch one of them. He was arrested. He will have his day in court at that point and go from there. One important thing they did note on that was when they went around afterwards and did a canvass throughout the neighborhood, they had found that he did make it into one car, possibly 2, but there were several other cars. He had a very unique footprint, and several other cars that were walked up to but not entered. And the one thing we found in common with all of them is they were locked. So therefore, as we keep telling people and we keep asking them, lock your cars. It really does work. So they were going around just looking for open cars that night. Like I said, we thank the residents that called in, and I said again, the officers did a great job of responding there and in finding them. And then finally, of course, I just want to remind people we do have a few spots left in the Citizens Police Academy that starts on March 7th through May 23rd, meets from 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. on Thursday nights. at the Sheriff's Police Station at 16911 West Larrabee Road. If interested, call the police department and we can begin the application process with you. That's all I have.
Thank you, John. And now for the village administrator's report, we'll go to our village administrator, Rob Pisha.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, again, I want to congratulate Philip Chevrolet on their 50 years in the village of Frankfort. I've been around here worked here for 33 of them, and I've had an opportunity to see the business grow here in town, and just want to thank Phillips and especially the Pasquarella family for their commitment to the community and everything that they've done. It's just a wonderful business, and it's nice to see it's celebrating 50 years, so congratulations. Also want to congratulate the police department. I had an opportunity to go to the school on Friday to see the training that they did. I want to especially commend Sergeant Bender. She's the one that helped put the program on for the school and did a wonderful job of conveying the idea of the program to the faculty to get them to buy in. And from my understanding, that from Superintendent Zinni, that it's been very well received, and want to thank the police department and Chief Barica for his commitment to the schools and all the work that they do over there to have a partnership. And again, we hope that we never have to use any of the things that we learn, but at the same time, it's nice to continue to see that we have a very good working relationship with the schools and especially with the police department. So great job with that. On the ash tree program that Trustee Heath mentioned, just want to let people know that the trees will be going in when kind of when the thaw breaks. We try to get them in before it really starts raining to help them get a good foothold and get during the wet season. What we do ask for is that people take a commitment to help us water the trees. We do put things called alligator bags around the bases, but we do ask the residents to help fill them to keep the roots watered, especially for the new trees. But those should be going up sometime in probably late April, early May, depending on when it actually, the weather breaks enough to start putting the stuff in the ground. And then finally, Mayor, just want also to remind people we have some ice and snow coming in again tomorrow. And one of the things that I just want to remind residents that when we have significant ice, it is very difficult, even though we do a good job with salting, that people have commented that why do the main roads seem to be in better shape after ice than our local roads. And really all that has is attributed to is the traffic volume. The ice is activated through the friction from the tires, and that's what helps melt the ice on the main street. So that's why you'll see that a lot of times it doesn't look like our local roads have been treated, but actually we've put down a lot of salt, and it just takes time to get it to work as cars go over it. And as a matter of fact, in the last week or so, we've put down about 700 tons of salt. So we've gone through a lot of salt because of the weather that we've had. So just want to let people know that we are actively doing it, and just be aware that on the local streets it does take time to melt, especially when you have significant ice events. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Rob. And that brings us to the part of our meeting we call Other Business. And this evening we'll start with our clerk, Adam Borelli.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have some notable items for the upcoming April 2nd consolidated election, which is just 6 weeks away. Hard to believe. You can request a or vote by mail ballot right now. If you go to the willcountyclerk.com, they'll mail you the ballot, and then starting Thursday, you can just mail it in. So you could vote without even really leaving your house, except to go out to the mailbox. Also, the last day to register online, you can do it right now. You can do it all the way up to March 17th, again, on the willcountyclerk.com's website. Early voting, we'll have that here at the Village Hall starting March 18th, and that'll run through March 29th. It'll be Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4 p.m. And also, I just wanted to let you know that sample ballots are now available on the willcountyclerk.com's website. So it's a great way to look at the candidates and take a look at the ballot before you actually go to vote. I wanted to congratulate the Pasquarella family on 50 years. That's quite an accomplishment, like Rob was saying. And the mayor, Phillips, has been a tremendous asset to our community. Also wanted to highly encourage people to apply to the committees. I originally started in 2012. I got on the Departmental Operations Committee. It's been a great opportunity to be involved. There's a lot of smart people out there in this community with diverse backgrounds, and I highly encourage them to apply. It's a great experience. I also wanted to, I missed the last meeting, but I did watch it, and it was really sad to miss it, because it was a really exciting one. So I wanted to congratulate the Hickory Creek Middle School cheer team. Great performance, and congratulations on winning state. Same to the Lincoln Way East cheer team, which I'm sure will be here soon. But congratulations to them on their state title as well. And last, I wanted to congratulate Frankfort Cub Scout Pack 270. They did a great job leading the Pledge of Allegiance and really asked some great questions. So, and that's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Adam. Trustee Ogle.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, our hearts and prayers certainly go out to the victims and families in Aurora. The Aurora police and the backup units. I know Joliet sent, I think they have a SWAT unit and other ones too, they all headed out to backup. And again, just a tragic event. Congratulations to the Pasquarello family and Philip Chevrolet, 50th anniversary. Our company actually bought our first company vehicle from them. I think it was Bob Shalleck. Was my salesman. We bought many trucks, work trucks from them over the years. So we're always happy to have them here, and they're a great asset to here to Frankfort. As Clerk Borelli had mentioned, and as well as the mayor, the application for committees is coming up. It's a good place to start if you're interested in what goes on in the village, but these are also, even if you don't think it may necessarily be for you at this point, they're all open to the public. All our meetings are public meetings. You are welcome to attend and ask questions, and a lot of times we do handle, depending on the size of the crowd, we handle them sometimes very informally, so that you shouldn't be intimidated to come and ask questions and cite your concerns, or even just ask for clarification on something. During this last week or so, there was a town hall meeting that was put on by Metra. Back in November, there was an incident that was caught on somebody's dash cam. I think it was a Mokina police officer, and as he was going on over the crossing at 191st Street, the gates did not come down. They did not activate. The signal didn't activate. A vehicle went through right before him, and he just barely was able to swerve off to the left. So this was kind of kept a little quiet until that video went viral a couple weeks later. And so there was a Metra town hall meeting. The CEO from Metra, Jim Derwinski, came out. I thought he did an excellent job explaining the locations, what was supposed to happen, what actually did happen, as well as the precautions that they're taking, that that grade has been slowed down. In discussions with it, this was a very rare instance of failure. One of their maintenance technicians has a 40-year career maintaining these. This is the only time he's ever seen this as an entire career. And they do track for these. There's also some PTC devices that they're implementing that'll be, I think, standard on trains as they're coming forward. But it's also important that we don't just trust that all these devices and technology are going to work all the time. So when you come to an intersection, when you're stepping off a curb, the same sort of thing, you know, look both directions as you're about to cross. Make sure that, you know, you're not taking your life into your hands. It's very seldom that these do fail, but it's just as a practice as you're driving, as you're going over these crossings. This was a crossing grade failure. You know, look to make sure there's a train not coming. Shortly after this meeting was held, there was a pedestrian that was killed at Hickory Creek train station right there in Mokina. They're still investigating it, but they're assuming it is an accident, that she thought this train was going to stop. It was not her train. It was passing straight through. So she may have thought she had time to get from one platform to the other, that it would slow down. And, you know, I believe she was a 23-year-old woman, lost her life. So make sure you're looking and pay attention, especially if you got other people in the car. That's all I have tonight, Mayor.
Thank you, Keith. Trustee Stevens.
Thanks, Mayor. I too want to express my condolences to the families who lost loved ones in the shooting up in Aurora. Another tragic event in our nation. I too, Mayor, was impressed with the response of the police chief there in Aurora. I thought she handled herself in a tremendous manner under a very stressful situation, but she was very impressive. I too want to encourage folks to volunteer, to participate in our committees. It's a wonderful way to learn how your village operates, and it also gives you an opportunity to have your voice heard on your opinions on activities that take place in our community. And finally, I do want to thank Phillips Chevrolet. 50 years is an awful long time to be in business, especially in one community. They do an awful lot for our community, and we're very proud of the work that they do. The fact that they have been recognized by Chevrolet numerous occasions, being #1 sales organization in the state of Illinois, is a tremendous honor. To do it 13 years in a row is absolutely amazing. I come from a sales background, and I know how difficult it is to motivate your people, your salespeople every day to go out and work with customers. And it's quite an accomplishment, and we do congratulate the Pascarella family. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mike. And Trustee Heath.
And I hate to be repetitive, but I also want to extend my congratulations to the Pascarella family. Their being in the village of Frankfort is very important. Not only gives people some awareness that we are here, but they certainly provide a lot of our tax revenue, which is very important to us. So congratulations to them. Obviously, they're doing things right if they can stay in business 50 years. And the Aurora shooting, just, this is happening way too often in the United States. Something I believe has to be done to control guns a little bit more so that people such as this person who should never have had one and did the wrong thing with it. And the closer this happens to home, I think it just strikes harder at our hearts because we can see that we could have easily been in that place also. And then just the third thing that I wanted to mention is there is a railroad crossing on Wolf Road that is deteriorating pretty badly. Is that something that's in the village of Frankfort, or is that Mokina? It's that railroad crossing that's kind of on the border between Frankfort and Mokina. It's getting very, it's sinking. The roadway is sinking, and it's quite bumpy now.
Yeah, I'll find out. It's technically, it's a CN railroad. I'll find out.
Right.
We can find out where they're at in the maintenance schedule.
Yeah, if you could just, because I drive that road all the time, and I've just noticed lately that it's, in the last several months, that it seems to really be getting a lot worse. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Cindy. And Trustee Kennedy.
Mayor, my hat goes off to all my fellow trustees and to you. So the public knows we get a calendar every year of our scheduled meetings, board meetings and committee meetings, and I apologize to all of you. I missed last week's meeting. Apparently, I missed a really heavy agenda between the Land Use Policy and Department of Operations Committee. So my comment tonight is to congratulate and thank Trustee Ogle for filling in for me and covering all the land use policy information tonight for me. So thank you, Trustee Ogle. You did a great job.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Bob. And Trustee Clavio.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe all of my colleagues have sufficiently captured my comments as well. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And that brings us to the part of our meeting we call public comments. Is there anyone in the audience who wanted to comment to the village board tonight? Hearing nothing, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Mayor. I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned.